SADIQ alayhi salam had a brilliant mind and taught his followers in the mosque of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Many great scientific truths centuries before more well-known and revered European scientists reported their findings. Here are 10 scientific truths that our Imam taught us. Number 1. The position of the sun. For a long time, the general consensus was that the Earth was the center of our solar system, with the sun, moon and planets rotating around it. Imam SADIQ alayhi salam refuted this by saying that it was in fact the Earth that rotated around the sun, and that the Earth rotated upon its own axis. Let us compare this to Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher. His theory was that the Earth is stationary and that the sun's stars rotated around it. And it was through this the theory that caused the delay of progress of the science of astronomy and kept mankind in ignorance for nearly 1800 years. It was not until the 15th century when the astronomer and the mathematician Copernicus challenged this theory, and this was heavily because without carbon dioxide, plants would not be able to photosynthesize, making it impossible to grow and sustain life. This discovery is attributed to Lavoisier, yet it was Imam SADIQ alayhi salam in the 2nd century after Hijrah who began this discussion. Number 3. The origin of the universe. Imam SADIQ alayhi salam taught that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe from a tiny particle which had 2 opposite poles. That particle produced an atom, and in this way matter came into being and diversified. This theory is in line with that the modern scientists teaches today. But notably, Imam SADIQ alayhi salam also mentioned that the universe is not always in one and the same condition, but rather in one period it expands and another it contracts. And everything in the universe, including inanimate objects, are always in motion although we may not see it. Both of these statements were considered inconceivable for centuries, and it wasn't until as late as the 20th century when astronomers saw these theories to be correct. JAFAR, one of the pupils of Imam SADIQ alayhi salam, asked, "How does the movement of the stars keep them from falling?" And the Imam replied, "Put a stone in a sling and swing it around your head. The stone will stay in the sling as long as you are rotating it. But as soon as you stop the rotation, the stone will fall down on the ground in the same way the perpetual motion of the stars keeps them from falling down." Number 4. The discovery of hydrogen. From his father Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, Imam SADIQ alayhi salam taught his students about the presence of hydrogen gas in water, a naturally flammable gas. How is it possible that our Imams could reveal the presence of hydrogen, which is a colorless, odorless and tasteless gas, and does not exist freely in nature? In fact, the first person who was able to separate hydrogen from water in modern times was English scientist Henry Cavendish, and this was the beginning of the 19th century. Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam knew such secrets but only revealed a small portion of this knowledge with others so that mankind would not use hydrogen for evil. But as we saw during the Cold War between the United States and the USSR, hydrogen was used in the production of the hydrogen bomb, which threatened to annihilate mankind. Imam SADIQ alayhi salam kept such information secret to avoid such a catastrophe. Number 5. Contribution in physics. In addition to chemistry and astronomy, Imam SADIQ alayhi salam was also a master in physics. One of the laws worked by him was about the opacity and transparency of materials. He said that the materials which are solid and absorbent are opaque, and materials which are solid and repellent are more or less transparent. When he was asked about the thing which absorbed by an opaque material, he replied that it was heat. Today, this theory is one of the laws of physics. How incredible is that our Imam was able to introduce this unique theory in only the 2nd century after Hijrah. Number 6. The composition of the human body. Imam SADIQ ﷺ said that while all human beings were made from the earth, whatever is in the earth is also in the human body, but the elements are not in the same proportion. 4 elements are in very large quantities, whereas 8 elements are in smaller quantities, and a further 8 are in minutely. This theory was proven centuries later in the 18th century with the dissection of the human body. The results showed that 4 elements were found in large quantities: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. 8 elements were found in smaller quantities: magnesium, sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, sulfur, iron, and chlorine. The 8 minute quantities are molybdenum, cobalt, manganese, copper, zinc, fluorine, silicon, and iodine. Number 7. The theory of light. Another great contribution to science was the Imam's No one before Imam SADIQ ﷺ had ever said that the diseases were also transferred from one person to another by means of rays emitted from patients suffering from certain diseases. This theory was ridiculed until it was later proven correct by scientific studies. Number 9. The light of the stars. Imam SADIQ ﷺ said something really radical when he mentioned that among the clusters of stars that we see at night, there are some stars that are so bright that our own sun is insignificant in comparison. This was a radical statement, as many people at the time and centuries after him considered this theory to be illogical. How could these small specks of light be brighter than our own sun that blinds us if we look at it for too long? 12.5 centuries later, this theory had been proven correct. In fact, our own sun doesn't even compare to the brightness of other stars. The brightest star in the sky discovered to date is called Sirius A, which is believed to be 25 times brighter than our own sun. How is it that Imam SADIQ ﷺ could have possessed such knowledge unless the creator of this universe was his guide? And finally, number 10. Pollution of the environment. Long before the news broadcasts on global warming, Imam SADIQ ﷺ warned that people to not pollute our environment, otherwise it will become impossible to live on this planet. Bearing in mind that there was no issues of pollution or global warming when he was alive. This statement is incredible. Today we find ourselves facing growing problems: the ice caps melting, sea levels rising, increased health concerns, acid rain, the destruction of potentially life-saving plants, the extinction of animals. Scientists tell us that if the temperature of the planet increases, then it will become impossible for us to live here. How could Imam SADIQ ﷺ have been able to predict this unless he was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There is no doubt that Imam SADIQ ﷺ has contributed so much to humanity. So it's such a shame that he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. And we are part of the problem. Why don't we talk to non-Muslims about our Imams alayhi salam and how they have contributed to this world? Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are not just for us, rather they should be shared with this world. I hope this program has inspired you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us all in wisdom and help us to serve humanity just like Imam SADIQ alayhi salam did. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.